Hello. You probably know me from my more popular, well, hopefully less popular, who knows, series about the witness, examining the witness, and untangling braid. But you can't make videos about the witness all the time, even if you're a witness super fan. So we're going to be taking a brief interlude and sort of interleave episodes about Edith Finch. What Remains of Edith Finch, which is another game that I really love. It's one of the reasons I love Braid and the Witness is because they're so cohesive. They tie together, like the artwork, the story, the game mechanics. Like they've been well thought through, which is such a contrast with most video games where they just like put random stuff in the game and just hope that all the cool stuff adds up to a nice experience. And there's so few games like Braid and the Witness that they're always worth cherishing. And I feel like Edith Finch brings a similar depth. It's not quite as much of a totally amazing masterpiece, but few things are. Brings a similar depth of like themes and interest in game design and all this kind of great stuff. So we're going to talk about it. Hopefully this will be a much shorter series because it's a shorter game. The main thing, Edith Finch, it's all about like family and relationships and stuff. It's sort of one of those like 3 generations of women stories, which I usually like despise, such as like Joy Luck Club and Six Pigs in Heaven and all those books that they make you read in high school. But first of all, I'm bringing my wife along to add some music to a little bit stronger on interpersonal stuff and less about like, I don't know, just like puzzle panels.
I don't know. I'm a terrible person for this. I also don't like the generation.
But together we can do it. But more importantly, it's not just your typical family story. What Remains of Edith Finch is very like existentialist in my view. It's a very kind of like it's told through all of these family members, but it's really about like the human experience and kind of what it's like to go through life and the meaning of life and how to relate to death and all kinds of stuff like that.
It's just about a lot of poignant moments in people's lives that sometimes you experience, and they really aren't covered in video games enough, so this makes it a very unique and wonderful game.
I also really love the structure. Each room in the house that we'll explore, it's just like Braid, where each room has like a different theme, and then each room is a different person, but it's also interrogating a different first-person gaming mechanic. So like the game like starts in first person. This is just like the witness pause screen. It's like the menu is like I'm sitting on a boat going to the house. It's this big first-person game, and it's interested in like why are video games the way they are, and what if they were different, and how would that change the emotional experience of playing them and stuff.
It's one of the few games that's actually exploring like the difference between like a movie and a video game and how much a video game contributes to experiencing something.
They'll reference like they'll be like, why don't we make games about being a shark or something? They'll also make more grounded stuff like why don't we use more jump cuts in games, or like why do we always have to have combat in the games that we make, or I don't know, why are you always controlling a player character rather than just kind of like controlling like a random mix of stuff in the environment?
It's like a really wonderful game to show to family members and people who don't play games, because it's a really great introduction to a whole bunch of different styles of games that it really doesn't expect you to be familiar with any one of them. So it's very intuitive. They did a great job, but I don't know if I want to talk about game mechanics. It's about stories and stuff.
We'll get into it. So it's really great, and I hope you enjoy getting to know Edith Finch.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning with the house.
So we're going to be spoiling this game, right?
Yeah, there's going to be spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
So Is this the voice of the player character, or is this the voice of some other person in the house? Is
Yes.
this a diary?
This is the voice of Edith Finch, the main character in the diary.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
Such an iconic house. The mailbox is a little model of the house. This game, like The Witness, has a bunch of like "I see what you did there" moment. I mean, this isn't even particular, but it's just such a lush game. So one big part of the series is
I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral. In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
So I'm not gonna try and like super 100% this. I'm sure this also poses a bit of trouble because we have the way the story is told. It's like there's a lot of dialogue versus in The Witness there's no dialogue except from the audio logs that you've clicked on. So we'll probably end up speaking over some of the narration. I'll try and keep subtitles on screen at least. But also, I'm not like an Edith Finch super fan. Like, I'm a big fan of the game, but I haven't like read the fan theories and like deep dived on the developer. I mean, before this they made Unfinished Swan and stuff, and maybe we'll be covering Unfinished Swan if it goes on sale between now and when we finish the series.
The truth
but
is,
I'm not.
Even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
But you're not like intimately familiar with all the ins and outs.
Yeah. We're gonna be playing through. We're gonna be commenting on
The woods
on the
around the
main
house have always
thing.
been uncomfortably
Just like the
silent.
secret of Psalm 46 tells us.
As if they're
from The
allowed to
Witness.
say something.
We're gonna just pay attention to the main content of the thing and not try and track down all the little itty bits and stuff. Because I'm sure there's like cool stuff that if I like wander to that ravine, she'll be
But
like,
I
I remember going to this ravine when I was a child.
Yeah,
we're not gonna 100% it.
Is gonna be lore.
Yeah.
And it's like nice touches, but not necessarily gonna like change your understanding of the whole story.
I mean, I've been spoiled by the fact that it's like next gen consoles now and whatnot. So I don't know. It just looks a lot of the game looks nice.
It's like good, like it's maybe like groundbreaking, but it's good feeling, good atmosphere.
And it has a
The
nice
house
kind
was
of
exactly like I remembered it,
like,
the way I'd been dreaming about it.
Like the house is a great example of that. Like it's like surreal, but vastly more realistic than like your typical game because it's just about relationships and family and stuff. But like the stories are surreal. I don't know, and the art style also has this kind of like lush, painterly look to it.
I want to pay attention to where that tree is coming from. Like
Right
it's
there.
coming out of the house.
Oh,
yeah, I want to figure out
Okay,
like
okay.
where that's sprouted from. Yeah, so in Edith Finch, pretty much everything you look at is gonna be part of the story later. Or
As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words. Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
One thing that I kind of don't like about Edith Finch, which is improved compared to their previous game, the Unfinished Swan, is the Unfinished Swan was like written. It was like a children's book, like in a game. But I'm like, it's not literal children who are playing the Unfinished Swan. It's like art game fans on PlayStation. You know, maybe they're not as old as I am, but they're at least like, I don't know. Probably the average age is like 15 to 20 or something.
yeah, that game's not like exploding with random like.
Yeah, and yet the language of Unfinished Swan is written like it's a storybook for like 8-year-olds or something,
Maybe that's just what good storytelling is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, and that's the thing, because these people they're doing good story. I mean, we haven't seen anything so far. I've just been ranting, but they, this is a good game, and it's about all these powerful themes and stuff, and it's really like full of ideas, and yet they kind of It's almost like they don't have self-confidence. It's like, you know, we're just going to tell this in Unfinished Swan, it's like a storybook tale, and then in Edith Finch, it's kind of like a YA novel kind of vibe, you know?
What I think is going on is they know that they're talking to game players, and they're hoping to be talking to very much gamers. And so they're trying to lure them into a sense of it's okay to just relax.
They don't want to get accused
fun.
of being pretentious.
Like, don't take it too seriously. We're just going to like actually tell some stories here.
Yeah, or you know, or maybe it's on the other hand, maybe they're trying to make it very clear that they're not trying to talk to the traditional gamer audience. So they want to make something that sounds accessible, and they do that by like referencing another more common, more accessible form of literature. I don't know, but I don't really like it. You know, I'd rather games just do the witness
I hope the key might unlock the front door. It didn't.
But arguably preferable to the like BioShock Metal Gear Solid philosophy of like having super weird.
Looking in,
you know,
I felt like the house
stuff.
itself had been waiting for me.
Yeah, I think we do.
Nope. Oh, yes.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
Is that the only way, or you think there's another way?
Yeah, no, I think that's the only way. You can go explore like the garage and stuff, but this is the only way in. Which almost, I mean, it lets them get the garage in the game linearly. It kind of makes it more clear that you're, I don't know, entering in a weird way. That almost feels like kind of a video game. I don't know, but it's also just Blue's got bikes. It's been a couple weeks in Seattle this year. It was like this.
For the first time in years, I felt like I was home.
And then it's this like overwhelming,
So
super
much detail.
detailed diorama. Like this is a lot of stuff for like an indie game. You know, again, as time goes by, like
It's starting to look
detail
more
becomes
normal.
more and more common. But there's also, I mean, it's just like crowded with all this stuff, right? Like the house has been abandoned for 7 years, but it's still just chock
Totally
full,
lived
right?
in.
And this is representative, right? The game wants to have everything be full like this because it's all about like memory and family and relation. It's about how so much stuff builds up. You have so much history with the people in your family and with like, I don't know.
But
with all
instead of a
the-
family, there were just memories of one.
Yeah.
It's like all the memories and all the things you do and all the lives that are lived and all of the different feelings and stuff that people had. Yeah.
So this is the sort of nuclear family, I guess, who was living in the house at the time that the house was abandoned. We have young ourselves, Edith, Dawn, our mother, Edie, our grandmother, and Lewis, our brother.
And then she mentioned on the way in that her brother died, which
Yeah.
there is the obituary.
Yeah.
Like how only one restaurant would deliver to our house, so we had Chinese a lot. Or how after Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly. Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it. Like a smile with too many teeth.
Yes, it's kind of a horror house, like House of Leaves or something, because it's like weighty with all this history, you know, and you kind of don't want to go back to it because there's like some bad stuff.
My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
Giant Sparrow, maybe, in the stained glass, like the game developer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wait, so her brother Milton and her brother Lewis?
Oh yeah, there's a family curse and all that. Yeah, it's like Psychonauts.
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
So all these doors have been glued shut.
Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank.
This view out there in the Pacific Northwest. Puget Sound.
The table was still a wreck from the night we left. My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home.
Right, so the house
It
is
was like a
the whole
bomb had
Finch
gone
family.
off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
I think Edie Finch, I think this is like a pun in the title because that must be short for Edith. So you, the player character, are named Edith Finch, but also the grandmother, like matriarch of the house, who like has ties to all of these people and is like running this huge thing, is also Edith Finch. So it's kind of like, which Edith Finch's remains are we talking about, right? Like this house is sort of like it's literally like the offspring of Edith Finch. Like they're all related to her, and it's like, you know, her kind of life, you know, project. It's her whole life here, and so it's the house is kind of what remains of this Edith Finch, and then you know, it'll be a matter for later to decide what, if anything, remains of the player character Edith Finch.
So what she was saying is Edith Finch, the grandmother, died, and then everybody left immediately.
No. No. This is it said. My mom, meaning Dawn, was the only one who could imagine Edie living in a nursing home. So she was fine. I mean, you know, in a wheelchair, just going with the oxygen and things. She didn't immediately die. No, it was like the night. She said it was like the night we left or something. Like it was a big family
She
drama.
said like a bomb went off and then everybody left.
No, it was a metaphor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, what bomb? I thought Edith Finch.
Oh, just a big
big
family
fight?
blow up. Yeah.
Okay.
Plausible to assume that somebody might have died because there's a lot of people dying in this game, but no. All these family photos, man. Barbara Finch on the film set.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes. Molly always seemed like a girl I could imagine being friends with, if she hadn't died in 1947.
So this is bizarre. Like this, Molly's room
you
has been
don't-
here since 1947. It just
You
kept
don't
the
just
same as
seal
it
it
was.
and then leave it.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean even since far before the sealing, which happened relatively recently.
Well, you don't just leave it how it
I
is.
know, it just left how it is, just as a memorial. I guess they just like building more rooms onto the house. Anyways, we'll get into the game now, but bugs
I was
framed
gonna say,
here.
go
Hell
for those
yeah.
bugs, please.
Yeah, they're 3D models of bugs and not big bugs.
Man. Wow, that's nice.
But
That's detailed.
yeah, the
Look, there's even more bugs. They didn't reuse the same bugs. Wow.
yeah, quality bugs.
Quality
Like,
bug.
it was one of them must have been like entomology. Like that's not. They're not actually gonna put that in randomly. These are all like representative of the actual stuff.
Bugs are good decor.
Yeah,
Don't tell me.
yeah. So they have all these different doors. You can like peep in them as a way of like previewing,
What the
you know, kind of like a
character
teaser or
was,
something
yeah.
for the future.
Oh, look at that saw.
I know, yeah. You know, this is like the last bits or something where they put the stars all over the, you know, they're just almost going overboard. And like, I'm sure if you grew up
Look at some of those book
in
titles.
like a, you know, in 1970s Seattle in like a big house like this, you must be feeling a lot of nostalgia. No, we're not gonna look at all the book titles. We gotta keep
wanna,
them on. We'll see.
get
There's
an
plenty of
idea.
ones. But yeah,
I
there's
spent a
fun
lot
stuff.
of time playing in Great
good.
Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up.
This is a great room.
Yeah. So this is already like,
So this room hasn't been left intact unless he lived.
Walter, I think, is the guy in the bunker. I don't know who even Walter is, but this is interesting the marketing for Edith Finch, like some of the early trailers were very heavy on this sort of like illusory, like there'd be a 3D object and then there's like something else, an image being projected over the 3D object. It's pretty cool. I don't know, I'll link it or something. But yeah, this is...
Oh, look, the house.
Yes, this is the house of Odin, the father, right? Odin is named after like the Norse god of like the All-Father, right? Because he's the progenitor of the family and he brought the house over from Norway. We'll learn more about it later, but yeah, it's a sunken house. It's just this like super immersive like VR type room, and even the light coming through here and doing the indirect bounces gives it this like underwater feel as well, you know, like there's like these little particles, this kind of dusty thickness in the atmosphere that almost makes it feel underwater. And I don't know, we got this like little train car. It's just cool stuff. So even this room like doesn't have any gameplay content. It's so fun how it's got a little like tsunami wave is coming in from all this, and then you're like deep into it. Yeah, so this already is kind of just like a statement of like the game's interest. It's like this is like a VR type technology, right? Just like painting the room like this. It's like trying to be immersive, trying to be, I don't know, all encompassing or something.
Lewis told me there were
like
secret passages, but I never believed him.
Fantastic reality.
Yeah. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Doesn't make any sense.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets.
Is it locked? Is it window?
Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
Is it an attic? What the is it
Oh,
a
yeah.
wall? Like, oh my
From the
God.
paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me.
Milton, the hero of Unfinished
Swan.
Swans.
Miss.
He's painting
Maybe
things.
it
Of course, he'd
sounds
be
like
like
I had a
walking through the
plan.
walls and stuff. Beautiful stained glass.
Milton drawing you, probably.
But I had no idea what was behind that door.
So maybe she thought. So has she ever been in here? Or
Just like I had no
No,
idea
no.
where all this was gonna lead.
She just saw
Like,
Molly's
this is one of my
room
favorite.
and thought, like, oh,
I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
So this is another 2D, 3D moment, just like in The Witness. There's not so many of these in, in here, but of course she's just seeing the peephole, and then getting step into it, which is just like stepping into the magical portal or something, which is also a joke because the rooms are literal portals where like they each take you to a different like game design escapade. Yeah, super pink. So this is like the ideal like nostalgic little girl's room. We got like princess themed. We got like a jellyfish, little bunnies and stuff, flowers hanging down. I don't know, like decorations on the walls. It's cool stuff.
I think that other room is from.
I got the sense Edie had spent a lot of time here before my mom sealed the doors.
What are we talking about?
Oh, just on there. There's
Oh
a-
yeah, probably. I don't know. All masks. Probably consistent. Pacific Ocean depth chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a lot of stuff. A little map of the house with a magnifying glass on Molly's room, of course, because that's where we are.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
So this is also Unfinished Swan is also
Yeah,
very it's
inside,
like
inside,
representation
yeah.
and stuff, it's like it's very just into that. Games that are into game design or into that kind of stuff.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving. so I looked around for something to eat. The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it. Mom, can I come out now?
So each of these, of course, becomes the story of the family curse.
Go to sleep.
My Halloween candy was all gone. I kept eating and eating.
Okay.
I ate a lot of things that night.
So I wonder, I mean, I'm always at risk of reading too much into this stuff, but I wonder if the eating and eating is like video
Then I
game
heard chirping
acquisitiveness.
outside my window.
You know, it's like getting the coins, going around, clicking on all the items and stuff.
Just
And
doing everything you can, you know.
yeah. Well, and you're just always trying to kind of clean up the level, break all the pots, get all the stuff in a video game, and picking up anything in the environment.
It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat.
So this is like the surrealness of Unfinished Swan, that it becomes like cat simulator, and you're walking along these branches, you know? So it's like, I don't know, just the creativity. I mean, this is like one of the most surreal of any of the stories, just to really like get you into like, this is what the game's gonna be about. But it's like, yeah, why don't we make games where we're just cats and we just jump between branches and chase down birds and stuff? But I also think this is kind of like, I mean, I don't know, you know, is the linear pathways like a parody of the game story being linear or something? Probably not. But yeah, most of this is just like a genuine exploration.
I
It's
tried
like,
to be quiet, but
what
the
would it
bird
be
was
to like
really
be a
scared.
cat simulator?
Yeah, just do something
And-
fun. Yeah, be a child, be a cat, be whatever.
Yeah, it's sort of, it's like video games as like the child's imagination, you
Yes,
know? Like, 'cause
exactly,
she's,
yeah.
like, what's Molly really doing? Does she really become a cat and die? I mean, in a certain sense, like, yeah, kind of. The whole game becomes like about the stories being exaggerated and you're not sure how mythic they are. But
Right, because they have a curse, but it's kind of unclear. Like,
yeah, I mean,
is
even the curse is like, Dawn doesn't believe in the curse at all and accuses Edie of sort of like bringing the curse into being by virtue of like all of these exaggerated stories. You know, so real life Molly is probably like just daydreaming in bed or something. Or one of the fan theories is like maybe she got food poisoning from like eating the freaking toothpaste or eating the bad gerbil food or something like that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that holy berry.
The berries,
also,
yeah.
Kind of poisonous
Yeah.
for you. So.
Yeah. So maybe she's just like, you know, in delirium right now or something. But I don't know. You know, the game is just like, hey, like games can be anything. You know, like back in the 90s, people were like, what if we made VR and like we simulated like being a lobster or something? And nowadays nobody wants to do that. You just want to make VR games where you shoot people and fight zombies and stuff. But it's like, why don't we make games about being a cat? But also for all of the like surrealness
Mom
and
and
kind of
Dad
just like
didn't even
whimsical
look
whatever.
at me.
Oh, there's Edie and Odin over there. Christmas lights or something. You know, I think this also, and we'll see this with the next transition, becomes a story about the Edith bird, man.
I jumped and I almost got her. I could tell she was getting really tired.
So this, now it kind of opens up to be like not a linear area anymore. And it's like, oh yeah, like the jumping is actually implemented. It's not just like click to the nearest thing. Like you can hold down a certain length of time to do a small versus a large jump. I don't know. It's nice. It's a little playground. for
And
this
now
thing
I
that
was
they
up in
made.
the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird.
I love the like super high FOV that we get here to kind of simulate like the what would it like to be that sense of like you're a creature with a different experience of the world.
I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
So now it's like being
An
an owl
owl,
simulator,
yeah.
you know? But also it's another predatory creature, right? We gotta track ourselves down a rabbit. It's another predatory creature. This is like another. It's almost like a bomber coming in or something. And so I think that's part of it's like video games. They're all about like kind of combat and conflict and things, or maybe it's almost like a family story. Like all of the wild creatures out here don't have complicated social relationships, but they have like the relationship of predator and prey. You know.
A mama rabbit.
I don't know. I feel like this is saying because one of the things that you might say is like, well,
He's eating mothers, probably because she's mad at her mom for locking her.
yeah.
She was almost too big to carry.
Bunny.
I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And
It's
suddenly,
funny, like the
I was a
video game,
shark.
like heartbeat, so you're getting hurt.
Yeah.
But now you're a shark.
Yeah. Yes, and then you go to this like hilarious slapstick physics, which is like kind of reducto ad absurdum almost. It's like, you know, video games can be anything, so why not simulate being a shark? But then you're a shark in this totally
Non-shark habitat.
like previously
yeah.
there was kind of this pretense of like
I rolled
let's
off the
let's
cliff
try and
into the
pretend
ocean.
to be a realistic simulator, but it's like video games can just simulate whatever. Like you could just simulate a shark flopping around. So there's this sort of like wacky, surreal, like virtuoso creativity is one thread,
Edith
and then
it's choosing to do.
yeah. So that's like kind of inspiring.
Games, it can do different stuff. It can
Yeah,
do
yeah,
stats,
but
it can
it's
show,
not
sad,
all.
happy.
It's not all just like in the it's not just like a WarioWare where it's like totally random stuff, right? It has the story about like carnivore-ness, right? Like we humans, like we gotta eat, and all our games are about like, you know, violence and competition and stuff, you know? Like most of the most popular games are all like, you know, just fighty stuff. And part of that is like, well, maybe that's just the most interesting thing, or it's like the most fundamental story or whatever.
I was gonna say, like, okay, if you're a small child and you go play video games, it's gonna be this type of, like, it's about animals. It's still about violence, but it's about animals.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, this is almost like saying, on the one
hand,
hand, how universal
when I opened
it is
my
that
eyes,
is kind of a
everything
fundamental type of
changed.
story, but on the other hand, how strange, or like, you know, if it's so
Right.
compelling to have games about fighting, then why don't we make games about sharks and stuff? You know,
yeah.
why is it all guns?
Now I was a monster.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
Oh.
smelled
so
people
limited. It's like
everywhere.
exploring all that space.
Captain Finch Fishing Co. Orcus on Washington. This is like maybe
Oh, look at how you can yourself.
Yeah. So this is where this was like the first moment where I was like, I like what this game is doing, because now we're doing this thing. It's like a first person. We're still in first person. We can look. Well, we can't really look around actually. But instead of walking, we do this thing. Some VR games have experimented with locomotion schemes like this, where you first plot where you're gonna go, and then like pull yourself there, and then you make another. You know, so you have to kind of. It almost turns it into a turn-based game, and it's just like this is another way that we could locomote.
Yeah, exactly. So
It's-
they're, like, trying, cat running.
Yeah, this is almost like the blink mechanic from Dishonored or something, except that there's actually like physics to the little thing that goes around, right? So you actually have to like, you know, maneuver around obstacles and stuff. And of course you can pull yourself through these small spaces because you're playing as like being an octopus or something.
I was big, but I moved real quiet.
So now we've ascended all the way up the food chain to being a kraken, but also like the traditional video game protagonist, right? Like the predator on a boat. I mean, it's literally Dishonored, and they sing the Dishonored song in a little bit.
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
Yeah, that's another kind of video game thing. So you kind of know, like, this is not socially acceptable.
Yeah.
But you're also like, but it's fun.
Belly with a rusty razor, belly with a rusty razor.
Which could be coincidence.
No way. No way. It's not the Pacific Northwest song. It's an elevate way.
Your tentacle.
Oops. No, I don't think so.
After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And to cross the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went
Now,
into
instead
the
of
old
doing the Dishonored blink mechanic, we're kind of maneuvering in real time, but with a bit of a weird delay, and we don't have camera control, so it's like,
Earworm.
what if camera control, yeah, it's kind of like Worm Simulator, like what if camera control and, you know, and like movement were united by virtue of having this weird snaky thing. I don't know, it's just like weird different explorations of like different ways that you could simulate
Different types of
things,
movement,
yeah,
different
like,
types of looking, different types of being, different
Yeah.
types of
Yeah.
objectives, yeah. You may think we're making a big deal out of this, but Edith Finch is all about this, so this is just like a little tour of it, and I'll just keep
Yeah.
going.
so now we've become very small, but we're creeping up through the toilet in Molly's room.
I got closer and closer.
Oh, this is funny. It's like everything in miniature.
Oh, right.
There's
all
a
the
little
toys,
dollhouse and stuff. Yeah,
Chickens.
yeah. Like a giant scale monster.
All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
So now, of course, we've wrapped around and become the prey in this story about predator-prey relationships and hunger and video games
And it's like a
and
different
stuff.
type of story, you know? Like, it's a fun
I'm not sure
story.
if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Yeah. Yeah, so Molly, born 1937, died 1947, sort of like Great Depression, World War II. I don't know if there's like wider historical context. I mean, it's more plausible that you might send a child to bed without dinner during the Great Depression than at other times in history. But I don't know if there's a wider like, is the predation a reference to the conflict of World War? I don't think so. Yeah, and another thing about the Dishonored connection is, like, when Dishonored came out, people's minds were blown by the blink mechanic. They were like, this is revolutionary game design happening. And Edith Finch is like, dude, like I just showed you a shark simulator and a cat simulator and like blink with weird physics on the motion. Like I could just do this all day, says Edith Finch, you know? So like, what do you like? If you guys like this Dishonored stuff, like you could have more of it. Like we could be creative. So I just kind of like that joyful attitude towards game design of just like a world of possibility and
This will
games
be
as
obvious
like a window
later,
onto the human
but
experience.
my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly.
So I think that will do it pretty well for our first episode of Getting to Know Edith Finch. These should be shorter episodes and a shorter overall series because this is not as big a game as The Witness. So thank you for joining me for this very first room. But I hope you will be back to enjoy the many other stories of all the relations and the different ways that the game uses it to comment on. We got a lot of game design in the Molly one of just kind of like warrior style creativity. Maybe you're like, where's the Witness-esque, like everything tying together nicely? That comes more in the later ones. Also, some of the more philosophical themes I feel like come across more in some of the other
this was just
episodes.
like a bite-sized taste of like what Edith Finch could be about.
Yeah. But at any rate, have a good time out there, and I will see you next time.